Well, welcome back to the next video, and yeah, I have got someone else with me, something that you would have seen on a few of my videos in the past. We've come down to the Linear Syndicate, and Matt has very kindly guested me on for 24 hours. It's been a while since we fished together, hasn't it, mate, to be fair? Absolutely ages. Like yeah, we kind of, as you do, life gets in the way, we arrange stuff, it falls through, the usual really when you're trying to arrange a social session, but we've managed to get out. So yeah, Matt has been on the Linear Syndicate for how long now, mate? A year or two, is it?
Just over a year.
Just over a year. And they offer at a certain time of the year from September onwards until around March time a number of guest tickets, which we've made use of for the next 24 hours. So big thanks to Linear for allowing that to happen at short notice as well. So we've had a good lap of the complex around all three lakes, more for just my own sort of interest really, because I am on the waiting list, and not that I expect to get on here anytime soon. That's probably a good 5-10 years away. But yeah, for whilst I'm here, might as well go and have a look around at the same time. So we are dropping onto Yeomans Lake, and yeah, we've pretty much got half of a lake to ourselves, mate, haven't we really? We've had a good look around. It's relatively busy around the rest of the complex. But yeah, we've come sort of right up, I'll call it the top end, because it's kind of like the end furthest away from the car park. There's a handful of anglers down the other end, but yeah, we've got a nice amount of water to play with up this end, and most importantly, we've seen fish up here as well. Matt's done a few sessions up this half of the lake before. I had a good few fish from here as well. He knows a few areas and spots that you've seen fish in and around before, but yeah, it's looking good for it. Just come off the back of a massive storm, loads of rain, but thankfully at the moment it's quite warm. If you can tell from my hat, I'm absolutely roasting, dripping wet from pushing the barrow through the sodden grass. Matt on the other hand had his power barrow, which made light work. So yeah, I'm going to take 5 minutes to try and bring my heart rate down a little bit, and then we will get the rods out and we will see what we can do over the next 24 hours. And have a little fling around with a deeper, just get an idea about what we got, or what I've got anyway, to play with in front of me out in open water, and then we can hatch a little bit of a plan of attack. But the main sort of reason for this session really, as I say, was to have a social with Matt and have a catch up, because we haven't actually fished together in so long. So a fish would be a bonus, and there's definitely some bigger ones to go out in here as well, weren't there, mate, to be fair? So you never know. We might get lucky, but for now we'll leave it there, get some rods sorted, and see what we can make happen over the next 24 hours. Right, so I just wanted to give you a quick idea about what's going on out there really. Not really a lot in regards to weed or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is find the sort of harder lake bed really. That's the cleaner lake bed. There are depths between anything between sort of 7 foot and 9 foot really, depending on where I'm casting and how far out I'm chucking the deeper. In all honesty with you, there is very minimal weed on the lake bed. I don't know if you can see sort of here, there's very odd little patches of raised sort of weed here, but as you can see from the lake bed, it is quite firm by the looks of it. There is very minimal silt and stuff like that. But I've just been casting it around and finding sort of areas of real hard, clean bottom. So I've got one that's sort of 9.5 wraps clipped up, and I'll have one at 11.5 wraps clipped up. And what that will do is allow me to fish water that is just over 7 foot deep, and then just over 9 foot deep. I think the third rod I'm going to keep as a bit of a rover to start with, maybe like a single solid bag to cast to any shows. But yeah, there's really not a lot to go on out there other than trying to find the sweetest, cleanest spot that I can find. Now on the topic of rigs, I'm going to go in with a couple of spinner rigs, just because when I put a lead out there, just to feel what sort of drop I was getting on those two spots that I found, with that very thin layer of purple over the top that you would have seen from the scan. basically that very thin layer of purple is just basically dead silkweed, just lead on the bottom. Now as you can see, it is black. Doesn't really smell of anything, in all honesty, so it's not like it's you know, absolutely minging and not really sort of presentable. It's just dead silkweed, just kind of lead flat on the bottom, hence why you saw like no strands or sort of anything like that. There's no real problem out there with weed. I just need to obviously make sure that my rig is presented over the top of that. So I made a spinner rig with about a 6-7 inch boom, which will just balance down nicely once I put a little bit of putty on there to make sure that the pop-up just gets pushed away and just sits, you know, ever so nicely on top of all of that. And what I'm going to do is probably just catapult distance. It's just sort of spray about 100-150 baits between the two rods, between that 9.5 and 11.5 spot. But I'm going to go in with 2 of these, so 1 on each rod, and like I say, that will just kick out nicely. Nice semi-stiff coated hook link that will kick that pop-up away. That will just gently settle down onto that sort of dead silkweed, and that will be fishing perfectly. So yeah, got 2 of them freshly made up. It don't take seconds to just knock the booms up out of that semi-stiff material. Let's get a couple of pop-ups mounted on there. We can flick them out, and yeah, we'll be fishing. Darker and darker by the minute. I reckon yeah, the rain isn't too far away. The temperatures feel like it's dropped off a couple of degrees as well, hence chucking the hoodie on. As you would have seen, 2 rods have gone out. I started with a catapult baiting up, and yeah, about a dozen seagulls just come out of nowhere, so I pretty much gave up on that. Got the spawn rod out and just thought, let's just get the disturbance out the way now. So I put kind of half a kilo of mixed pellet, nut boilie and the seafood boilie over both rods, so half kilo over each spot, with a like I say, with a spinner rig and a pop-up over each. So they are now both fishing. Even just spomming up was just aggro because the swans fancied getting in amongst the mix as well. So yeah, they were trying to get their late breakfast, but whilst I was doing that, a fish showed itself down to my left, and it was definitely not a swan or anything like that, because they were all out on the spot whilst I was spomming, so it's definitely no bird. And yeah, I have just made up a solid bag, and what I'm going to do is tie that onto the left hander, the 3rd rod, and yeah, just kind of underarm it down into that area. Not going to go in too tight because there's a bit of an overhanging tree, plus I don't want their swans getting their heads down on it either, so I'm just going to underarm it down to my left. I've got a trimmed down seafood wafter in there, so pink, favourite colour. So just going to drop this down there for a few hours, and yeah, see if anything materialises. Basically for the moment, this 3rd rod is just going to be my roving rod, in all honesty. React to whatever I see, have it in and stick a fresh bag on it basically. So yeah, trusty solid bag. There's a fish, or at least 1 or 2 maybe fish down to my left hand side. Let's see if I can drop this amongst them, and yeah, you never know, might be able to nick one from the edge. All 3 rods are now fishing, and we are seeing a fair few shows, in all honesty. So my left-hander that I said has gone down this left-hand margin. Now it was probably the best cast I could have probably done, in all honesty. I watched the bag, I was thinking, no, I'm going to hang that in the tree, and it just happened to go through sort of like 2 branches like an arrow. Absolutely perfectly felt it down, got a nice drop on it. And not only that, since that bag's gone out, we've seen possibly another 2 or 3 shows just beyond it, so I definitely fished down that left hand side. So I'm going to give that a couple of hours. Now, not only that, we are also seeing a fair few fish sort of making their way further and further up. Sort of like within the last hour, I see fish show on the main sort of face of that island, just coming off that on the sort of back of the wind line, and then a show there, a show there. So they are slowly making their way up the lake. Earlier on, when I was actually flicking out the rods, one showed right over the other side against the back margin there, and Matt's also got shows down in his right hand side as well. So there are a number of fish about, put it that way. So they're active, they're giving their locations away. I'm going to give it a sort of good hour and a half on that left hand rod, that solid bag rod, depending on what I see down the margin, and whether I feel it's worth leaving it for a little bit longer. After that, I'm going to have it in, and I'm just going to basically plop it around where I'm seeing these shows. Right, we are down in Matt's swim. He has very kindly, for about the first time in about 10 years, treated me to a lovely Bailey's coffee. Starting to perk us up. Bit tired from the 6 AM start, so yeah, that was nice for him to get his brew gear out for the first time in 10 years. But yeah, we're down in his swim. To be honest, the last hour or so, the swans have just been up, down, up, down, up, down, literally just smashing the hell out of the water, trying to chase each other, and yeah, whatever else basically. But it seems to have calmed down a little bit now, for the time being, he says. And funnily enough, literally as soon as they stopped messing around, we see a fish show really close quarters to Matt's left-hander. What are you doing, mate? You're doing 3 solid bags, aren't you?
Yeah.
So just 3 solid bags down in this far end for the time being. Just kind of feeling your way into the session, mate, aren't you, really? Just see what you got in front of you, play with fish-wise. See what happens, I suppose. Try and nick a few bites.
Bite at a time, innit?
Yeah, just trying to nick a bite at a time, take it as it comes, really. So sort of opposite to me, I've given them a little bit of bait, in all honesty, and off my right-hander when we've been stood in Matt's swim, there's been yeah, a decent amount of slicking coming up off my bait, so there may be 1 or 2 fish down there just having a little look. But yeah, all quiet at the moment. But we're just glad to see the back of those swans, in all honesty, because they were just becoming an absolute pain in the arse, in all honesty. You know, one nearly dragged Matt's net in, trampling all over his rods, trying to get in and out of here from being smashed up by the other one who's chasing him. Yeah, it's just been carnage, to be quite honest with you. So hopefully a little bit of calm has been restored. Beautiful, stunning morning. I just love these times of the year where yeah, it just changes, everything just changes within the space of an hour. You start to see, you know, the nice reds and oranges of the sun starting to come up, and then the sun's just sort of starting to beam through. You got the mist rolling off the water, you got the mist steaming up off the grass behind you. Just everything about being out on the bank this time of year I absolutely love.
But unfortunately, what I don't love is one, catching a tench at 9 o'clock last night, getting me out the nice warm cozy bag, and two, not hooking any carp. So yeah, all quiet on the carp front, but still got a bit of time to try and put one on the mat. I'm going to disappear around sort of midday today, so yeah, still got sort of best part of 4 hours to try and make something happen. Really quiet night for Matt down the bank as well, unfortunately, but yeah, there is still time. So coffee is made, that's down on the floor. I'm going to drink that, and then I'm going to get some breakfast on the go, I think. But yeah, look, that sun is just starting to beat through, illuminate that far bank. Hopefully just dry out the bivvy ever so slightly, that I can get that packed down and out of the way. But what a beautiful morning. Unfortunately, nothing on the fish front to report as of yet. Even the shows out there have really dried up now. Not seen a show in a good while, in a good probably couple of hours, in all honesty. So yeah, gonna have to just wind it up there. It's been nice to come and visit obviously a new water that wouldn't normally be allowed to fish, and come and get just a bit of an idea of the lay of the land, really, because I am on the waiting list for Linear, which will yeah, probably come to fruition anything between sort of 5 and 10 years possibly, so who knows. But yeah, it's nice just to come down, like I say, wet a line on a new lake, and yeah, try my luck at trying to catch one, in all honesty. But yeah, that's just the way it goes. So we're all over us yesterday, but just couldn't buy a bite, unfortunately, apart from that tench last night. But whilst they're still out, at least there's always a chance right up to the bitter end. So leave it there. Obviously, if anything happens, I will get the camera out. Thanks for watching. Sorry there's not been any fish action, but yeah, that's just the way it goes. But as always, leave me a comment, give a thumbs up, always subscribe to my channel. I always appreciate new subscribers, and just come and get involved in any of my social media. It's good to hear from you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching. Not too sure when I'm going to be out on the bank next, but yeah, I hope you've enjoyed what you've watched, and I'll catch up with you next time I am out on the bank.